Yeah, so with the last little part of class, I wanted to talk about like how we would implement some of the different things in in the game engine. So I think I'd like to kind of do this as kind of like a group exercise, like with all of us up here, like for more of a discussion. So if it's possible to just kind of pause and move up closer, so we can all kind of attend at the same screen, that'd be awesome. Um, so the big thing that trying to do here is that the book kind of like underspecifies how to like do a bunch of different things. So at the beginning of today, we started out with like four different variables, right? So we had like health, stamina, ammo, and kill count. But these aren't like super um, like encoded in the book, you know, where things are. So we've got to figure out how to kind of like code these up and at what point different things would happen. And we kind of started doing that with like the ammo going down after you spawn a bullet. So kind of at the end of this projectile, you know, spawning thing. Um, so what we need to do is we need to be able to figure out like how to create these variables and change their state given what we have inside the first person character blueprint. So I guess like you know, for the current ammo, we did that. Like whenever you create a thing, it goes. But this kind of isn't even um, done yet. So one of the things that we noticed whenever we played the game, right, was that it went below zero. So how would how would we put some extra pieces to this blueprint so that it would short circuit if you were at less than one? Yeah.
You use a boolean?
Yeah. So what kind of test would we put on that?
So,
An if statement
Yeah.
or branch.
Yeah. So there's a branch. Yeah. We could do that. We could use like a less than or greater than on the thing. And where would we put that instance, right? So here there's a bunch of different things for making transformers on the like the firing thing. So it should probably happen before the um, firing element. Um, Here we've got kind of a line, so it should probably go from this input action fire, right, to some sort of test on that. So what we would do is we would drag this node out. We'd look for, I guess our goal is to do a less than or equal to. Let's see here. Should be. Let's undo the context sensitive and see. Yeah, so here we want to do a branch, right? And on true, we do that. And on false, we're just going to do nothing. So here we're going to do our condition boolean, and we're going to do less than. We want to do, it's an integer, right? And we want to do less than or equal to 0. We'll do this right here as the first branch, and we'll do get player ammo there. So if the ammo is less than or equal to 0, then is this code going to do what we want it to do?
well, is that saying if the ammo is less than or equal to 0, then it will fire?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so that's exactly what it's saying. So we need to flip where our connector is to the false branch, right? With the way that it's written there. And remove this true branch. So if it's not less than or equal to 0, we want it to fire. So another way to write this whole code too might be to switch this out with like a if it's greater than 0. That kind of like reads a little more naturally. So we can do this, we can do greater than, we can do a integer is greater than 0, and now we have our condition, we plop it there. So now we've got kind of a thing that makes sense, right? And so we can test this out. We can, aha, yes. So we alt click there, and then we move this back to true. Cool. And so we hit play, and then we get and then they stop as we expected, right? So that's kind of part of the design is kind of like trying to figure out like what's missing, right? And so there's other variables in here too. So stamina is one, and implementing like mechanisms around that. Kill count is one, and doing things around that, and then health is one. So because I think we were editing earlier on the cylinder target blueprint, I think this one might be a little bit easier to like figure out like where we put it in, right? So when will we increment this counter?
When the targets get destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the challenges in that is that which blueprint was the target destruction happening in?
The cylinder.
Yeah. So we get into here where we've got our thing and we have this destroy actor. So after this, we're going to want to add more code to decrement the kill count. But in this context, we don't actually have the player character. So when we were doing the HUD display, we had that get player character, right? So we'll click on that to grab the player character there. And then here we have, let's see here. Here we've now got a player character, and we're going to want to do the decrement. So we're going to want to take this player character, and we're going to want to tie it to set, what is it?
Could you, I don't know if you could, so I'm asking.
Yeah.
Could you make the variable for the kill count public, or whatever the setting is called? But
Yeah.
and then you could just, in the other blueprint for the cylinder, you could bring that into there.
Yeah, so when we create the count, it defaults as public unless you put the private variable there. So that kind of helps out with that. Let's see here. So we did the get character. I'm going to go back over here. We get the character. We're going to do the cast to first person character. That's the next step in our kind of chain here. So we bring this over here. We say cast to first person character. That gives us a thing here. We're going to do as first person character. We want to get weird. We want to get target kill count. And then we also want to set target kill count there. Kind of a weird thing, but we want the next action to be to set. We want to take this one, we want to call the plus operator for an integer plus an integer, and then we want to target that into wrong one. I want to take the output pin and put it there. So that's kind of how we do that. There's another thing too where you can do like a increment integer, and it will take that and add 1. So you can either explicitly add 1 with that, or you can use like a plus plus, right, to set that. It will add 1 to the specified value and set it, so we can actually just delete that thing. But you can kind of do it either way. So here, I'll put that plus back, and there we go. All right. So yeah, so now we can kind of increment that kill count based on the explosions, and we actually didn't add that into our event graph earlier for the designer on the HUD. So I'm gonna add another text box here, and we'll do this as the kill count here. And then we want to bind that to a new binding. So the kind of pattern here keeps happening, right? So we're going to get rid of the thing between there. We're going to add in the get player character. We're going to do the cast to first person character. Going to do that for keeping our execution running. As a first person character, we're going to get player get target kill count here. We're going to take that, we're going to put it into a toText node, right, to bring that back, and then we're going to set that within the return node for that value, right? So now we should have 2 different things. We'll save that, we'll compile that blueprint, we'll save that, we'll compile that blueprint, we'll save that, we'll compile that blueprint. And now when we hit play, we can go in here. There's no spacing in the HUD that I just designed, right? So like the numbers are doing weird things, right? Because there's no spacing. So it should be 25 and 1. Does what it needs to do. So I kind of wanted to like just bring everyone in to think about like how we integrate those and like where they go, and also just to kind of reinforce that like pattern that's going to come up over and over in when you're trying to work with your player variables outside of the scope of your original like blueprint for your first person character. And pretty much all the other contexts, you have to do the get player character, cast to player character, as person character, then get your value out from that. So kind of a complicated design, but it makes you think about like where things are with your different objects. So what would we do to map like a stamina sort of feature? How would we represent that, and what kind of mechanics do we want around stamina?
Because you have to tie it to the sprint function.
Yeah. So sprint sprint would be one place to do it, and we could also do like a really slow stamina burn of like even on a walk action, burning some stamina. So it just kind of depends on where you want to put it for coming up with your user interface in your game. But for both of those different sorts of things, because stamina is not like an interaction with another object, it's going to be happening with the with this first-person character blueprint, right? So yeah, that's kind of what's going on there. If we click on this like character movement thing again, we get all of the different variables with the walking, and so there's a lot of different things that we can kind of like check on. Walk speed is probably like the best one to get, right? And we're changing that walk speed through our sprint action here. So what am I trying to say here? I guess one thing you can do here is just type in speed, and that will let you get some of these speed things for your player. Let's see here. So I think how would we implement a stamina based off of sprinting? Like, what's kind of what would that kind of look like?
In the event graph or just like conceptually?
I guess conceptually.
So I guess like as long as you're holding sprint and you're sprinting, you have a stamina bar that will drain. And when you release it and you're not sprinting anymore, it'll slowly go back up to full.
Yeah.
And you can't sprint if your stamina's
Right. So one of the first things I guess would be to check. So does anybody see like kind of some issues with when you would check to see if you have stamina? Like when would we check to see if there was stamina to do a sprint?
I guess when you hit the sprint, like when you hit the button to sprint, it'll perform a check to see if there's stamina. Like you can get like a boolean, like true or false. Like if you have stamina, you can sprint. If you don't have stamina, you can't sprint.
Yeah. So we put a branch here, and what would our condition be here? It would just be
If stamina is greater than equal to 0.
yeah. So we've got a float, I think, for that. Yeah. There, and then we'll do this to get player stamina. It's greater than 0, then set it there. And then if it's not greater than 0, we want it to go back to the default state, right? So we can do all of that through that kind of block to reason through how our stamina goes through. So that's the gateway check to check if we can do the action. And then what do we do? How do we measure when and start the decrease on that?
I feel like the stamina bar would start decreasing when you input both the sprint button and a walking button or motion button.
Yeah.
That way standing still and holding the sprint button, your stamina bar doesn't go down while you're not moving.
Yeah. So here, if we've got so in here's our movement input. It's doing the different axes for movement. So we could add something here to check if we're running. Here we've got that tick, and here we've got the stick input. So yeah, I think here we've got really just this movement input. One thing to note is that the way that we set that something's in a sprint stage is we don't have like a variable for that, right? Like we don't have something like is sprinting, you know? So do we want to introduce a new variable for that? Or could we do something else?
We don't have like the input action sprints, and then kind of like the branch where it's like an and it's
Yeah.
an input where it's input action, whatever the movement would be, and then once both of those are true, then it's
Yeah.
true.
That could work. Let's see here. Let's see if there's some sort of movement branch thing. So, there's register movement component. And this is something to kind of like do, right? Is just to explore and type in, you know, movement. And you can just see if that exists within the interface. I'm not seeing something offhand that gets kind of like, there's get movement mode, but that's more for like crouching and things like that. So I don't see something there. So I think there's oh, I did see a get velocity though. That seemed cool. So that would be one thing. So there's kind of two ways I'm thinking that we could do it. One would be if we had a, like just a incrementer, like a get event sort of deal. The event tick, right? Oh, sorry, wrong thing. So if we get an event tick, right, then every tick we could check to see the walk speed, and if the walk speed is greater than, you know, the default walk speed, then you know, decrement the stamina bar. But that's not really controlled by like an amount of time. So that's kind of one way we could do it, right? So we could do it based off of the tick of the event. The other thing that we could do is here, after we're adding movement input, we could just decrement the stamina as a factor of the max speed, right? So you could do something like here, when I do set player stamina, right? We've got our number here. It's out of 1. We're going to do a subtraction of a float and a float. Our root number here is going to be the get player stamina, right? So that'll be kind of our root here. Oh, let's see here. So we'll do get player stamina. And then we'll subtract from it some factor. So we'll do something like float by float. We'll subtract from it the get max speed. Max walk speed. Right? That has that. And then the other thing that we'll do here is we'll do some factor here. So we'll do say 0.001 or maybe just 0.1, right? So just a couple of moves there, and then I think maybe I can do, yeah. So both of these things will go through and do a decrement on the player stamina. And then we'd probably do like a regeneration on some sort of regular tick. So yeah. So now we'd have some sort of factor here. I think we actually do want this pretty minuscule. And then we do play, cancel, got a blueprint failed to compile. Here, I think we need a, what's our target here? Directions are not compatible. First person camera. Player character, return value. Anybody have any ideas on how to correct this one? Okay. So I think I can go back and get a character movement. Yeah, I think that'll work. Yeah, so we get the character movement, which gives us the right target to get the right speed. So we do this, and now actually if you move around, I don't know if you can really see it because it's decrementing very slightly, but the bottom one is shrinking a little bit. Might show better with like a text field or something because the progress bars aren't like 100% right there. I've got to figure out how to make those wide again, but that's kind of how you can go about like trying to think about each one of these variables and how you would increment them kind of over time. Yeah. So, yeah, I will upload an assignment for the Chapter 3 for the heads-up display. I'll have office hours again 1 to 3 on Friday, and I'll update the whole class on like what's going on with the Chapter 4.
When will it be due? Like when you assign something that we did next week? Like,
Yeah.
So like next Monday?
Yeah, yeah, cool. Yeah, awesome.
All right.
Cool.